We're back with City Council members Tiffany Caban and Hudson. So the mayor has vetoed a package of housing legislation having to help homeless people get out of shelters. Your reaction to his decision to veto it? Crystal.
It is absolutely not the right time. I mean, first of all, let me just say that we will override his veto. We need a supermajority or 34 votes out of our 51 members to override that package of legislation. But that package of legislation, we passed that because we know the dire straits that we're in currently here in New York City. We're in a housing crisis like we've not seen before, and at a time when I know Councilmember Caban is going to mention the Rent Guidelines Board decision that just came down. This is just not the time to make it more difficult for New Yorkers to find housing, to get access to shelter. So I'll leave it to Councilmember Caban.
Well, there's another question here. The mayor in his veto message said that the city couldn't afford to do all the things that were in the bill, and he said that it gave false hope because there aren't enough, even if you give people vouchers, there aren't enough affordable apartments for the people who get the vouchers. Is that a concern that you had in passing the legislation?
It's just not true. We've done our homework, and I want to put this into context, right? The largest survey in New York City history, New Yorkers overwhelmingly said the key, the most important priority to achieve public safety was housing. Right. And so this is coming after the mayor just raised the rent on rent-stabilized New Yorkers for the next couple of years. And we know that to have a single person in a shelter for a year costs almost $500,000. With that same amount of money, a family could live in a two-bedroom subsidized apartment for 5 years. It would be the fiscally irresponsible thing to do to veto these bills. This is going to help more people get into housing. And just a quick shout out to, because one of the bills of the package is mine, but also council members Pirina Sanchez and Diana Ayala, and there's just like such a broad support across the council to make sure that we're treating housing as a human right and legislating like it.
Absolutely.
So why do you think he did it?
Oh, I mean, we can speculate. You know, there are probably a million reasons why he did it, but I can tell you confidently that we will override this veto.
So we are coming up on budget season, and so far there's no budget agreement. Most people think it would happen after the Tuesday primaries in the City Council and various district attorneys races. What are the council's priorities, and where do you see a clash with what the administration wants?
I mean, the council has been very clear. I'll just say, you know, and remind people that we are, for the first time, a majority women city council. We're the most diverse city council we've been in. When I was elected, I was the first out gay black woman ever elected. We have the first Muslim woman ever elected. We have so many firsts in this council, and our priorities have been very clear. We want to invest in people. We want to invest in the people with the greatest needs here in New York City, and we are far away from the mayor in terms of where he stands on his priorities.
Well, he wants more money for cops. You'd like less money for cops. He wants to cut the libraries. You say no way. Are there other things where you diverse?
Yeah.
I mean, what I will say is that, you know, he has coined himself the mayor of public safety, but there is a ton of research, empirical evidence that shows that the exact things that are on the chopping block in his executive budget, 3K, libraries, you know, cuts to Department of Homeless Services, DOHMH, our schools, sanitation, all of those things improve health and safety across our city. Cutting those things undermines safety. And so I know that the council certainly is prioritizing housing, which is woefully absent in his executive budget plan, as well as 3K, as well as CUNY, as well as wonderful programs like Promise NYC, providing childcare for undocumented families, and a whole host of other really essential services that the city needs to be providing.
See, one of the things that I was wondering about is that the amount of money that the mayor has spent on labor settlements, coupled with the increased cost of the asylum seekers, if that's going to limit the city council in terms of the wiggle room that you have to negotiate with the city.
Listen, I think the reality is this is a hard year, right? This is a hard year by any account, any measure. But the City Council's Finance Division, as well as the IBO, which is the Independent Budget Office's projections of revenue that the city has generated and can generate and will generate, differ from that of OMB's, which is the Office of Management and Budget, which is under the mayor's purview. Our numbers are just different. And so we know, and we have done our research, that we will have more revenue than the mayor is claiming we will have. And so, you know, we we are being fiscally responsible with the legislation that we're passing and introducing, and we just want to make sure that we're investing in the things that we know keep our communities healthy, keep our communities safe, and keep our communities well.
Do you agree with his numbers in terms of how much the migrants and the asylum seekers are costing the city?
I mean, I think those numbers are woefully off, but it's kind of hard to trust a lot of what comes out of the administration, unfortunately. But you know what I will say though is that while a budget is a finite thing, it's still really, really big. And so there is this pie, and every dollar that we spend in one place is a dollar that we cannot spend in another place. And so what we're looking to do again is to say, hey, we know what hasn't been working, and we know what does work. And so let's shift those dollars into the things that are going to have the biggest impacts on the city. And I think that the city's job is to enable and fund a workforce that meets the city's needs. And so we cannot be, you know, sitting by while we experience peg after peg and all of these vital city agencies are becoming more and more understaffed, working on skeleton crews.
Well, you know, part of the problem is that there's about 23,000 open positions in the city right now, and I wonder what you think should be done to fill those positions.
Well, that is a big part of the problem. We've been, you know, co-hosting hiring halls across the city with the mayor to try to get, you know, more folks into some of those positions. The reality is a lot of these agencies cannot function and are not functioning without being fully staffed. And so we want to make sure, and you know, again, through initiatives like those that the council have brought forward to ensure that members of the LGBTQIA+ community have access to good jobs, that you know, low-wage workers have access to better paying jobs. Those jobs are available, and we just need to get folks in.
And it has to be more attractive. The mayor was hell-bent against remote work for a while when the private sector was offering that kind of accommodation. We have to pay people better. EMS EMT workers are the lowest paid first responders, so we can't expect to have a robust number of applicants when we aren't paying people what they should be paid.
So how would you assess the city council's relationship with the mayor at this point in time, about 18 months into his administration?
You know, I have to give a lot of credit to our speaker, Adrienne Adams. You know, she has led the charge. She's been fierce and very clear in what our body's priorities are. And again, those are investing in our people. Those are investing in the communities with the greatest needs. They're investing in real safety solutions, health care, education, you know, and they're not what we've seen from the other side of City Hall.
Tiffany, how would you assess the relationship with the mayor at this point?
I mean, in this very moment, you gotta say it's tense with this veto and the budget negotiations, and obviously there's a lot of room in between where we want and need to be. But I think that we have been a savvy and committed bunch in saying, hey, where we can align, let's push forward, and let's push forward quickly. Where we diverge, we fight.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it right there for now, but our conversation continues right after the show on our streaming channel, CBS News New York.